Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what is up and welcome back to another episode. Hello, hi, I hope you're doing well. I can't believe it's March. It's literally March 5th when you're listening to this. Like, how are we already on the third month of the year? Like, I cannot believe it. I'm like in this place where I want time to pass because I want like May to come so I can have like my little Madison tour era. But then I'm also like, why is life passing by so fast? And also, my birthday's in April, so next month, and I'm turning 26, and I'm just like, oh my god, what is happening? But that's where I'm at right now in my head. I just booked a flight to LA in June to meet up with my friend Lauren, who I also host the other podcast that I have, That's So Us with. We're gonna meet up. We're gonna go to Madison's LA show. We're gonna do some podcast things, have some fun, all those little things. So that's exciting. But anyways, that's the update for me. Before we get into today's episode, I want to do a little mantra of the day. And today's mantra is, you are about to walk into one of the best versions of you. I saw this and I was like, how could anyone not like this mantra? How could anyone not resonate with this mantra? So I like it, and I'm going to say it again. You are about to walk into one of the best versions of you. I love that and I need to hear it. But I'm so excited for today's episode. On today's episode, we have Kristal with us. Kristal and I actually met on Just Me Where Stan Twitter like years ago. And we've been following each other for quite some time. And it's been really fun to see kind of like both of our evolutions, not just in like Stan Twitter in general, but like also seeing like our careers evolve and like all those fun things. So it was a really fun episode. We spoke all about how she went from being a Stan account to working in social media now. So kind of like the fangirl do music industry pipeline, if you will. She works at MTV right now as a social media coordinator, and she's been like working at the VMAs and things like that. And she also runs her blog called NOLA Concerts, and it was just such a fun conversation. We spoke about the fangirl do music industry pipeline. We spoke about what Stan culture and Stan Twitter kind of taught us. We spoke about what it's like working in social media. We spoke about what it's like working for MTV, running a concert blog, balancing everything, and all those things. It was a really fun conversation, and I'm really excited for you guys to listen to it. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey everyone, what's up, and welcome back to the podcast. So we have another guest with us. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Kristal. I like to say my 9 to 5 is working with MTV and CMT on like the side of the award shows, and then my 5 to 9 is like content creation and running my concert blog, NOLA Concerts.
Yes, I'm excited to dive into all that with you. But before I do that, I like to do a little hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts. So if you could pick up and move anywhere, where would it be?
Ooh, I think I would probably say maybe Malibu.
I've never been. I've only driven past it, but it looks really pretty.
I went for the I went for the first time last year. It's beautiful and it's so peaceful and like you're
Mhm.
LA, but not in all the craziness of downtown.
Yeah, 100%. And the next one is, do you have a life mantra or motto that you live by?
I think like each day is a new day to kind of get it right and how we all have like the same 24 hours. I like to think like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I like that. And then the last one is, who's a celebrity or creator that always keeps you inspired?
Maybe like Kiki Palmer. I feel like she does it all. Or
Mhm.
recently like Megan the Stallion. She's
Yes.
been like just handling things really well. So maybe her too.
Yeah, I love that. So we actually met on Stan Twitter. And I don't even remember when, but it's been a while, and we both follow each other on socials, and I feel like you share a lot of your life online. But is there anything that you do for fun for yourself that many people may not know that you actually do?
I recently took up baking, like, in the last, like, 6 months or so.
Okay.
I've always, like, cooked at home, but I started baking. It's been fun, it's been a learning process. There have been some misses, but it's been something definitely that's, like, for, like, me personally that I don't really
Mhm.
share online.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have something that, like, you don't need screen time per se for, because like, I feel like we're always on our phones or something.
Exactly.
And growing up, did you always envision yourself working in the entertainment space, or did you have a different path in mind at first?
I think, like, once I realized that there were opportunities in the entertainment space, I knew I wanted to work in entertainment. I didn't know what avenue I would, but I feel like
Mhm.
I think my first, like, place I was exposed to people working in the industry was watching Never Say Never and seeing, like, all the different people who worked on Justin Bieber's team,
Yeah.
and that's when it, like, clicked to me, like, "Oh, wow, like, I can do this," and so I guess, like, that was when I was in, like, just starting high school, so a fairly long time I've kinda
Yeah.
realized it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and talking about Justin Bieber, so when I joined just, like, stan Twitter is for Justin, when did you join and who was it for?
Mine was for Justin. I
Okay.
joined Twitter in, like, 2009. Initially, it was just because like, someone I knew had Twitter, but then, like, a few months later, I became with us he was involved in Twitter. And then I got, like, really involved on Stan Twitter, though, for him probably, like, 2010, 2011.
Mhm. Yeah, because you were a part of something. Were you not? Like, was it like a ticket thing?
No, so I was on Justin Crew. I still am on Justin Crew.
Okay.
Um, I have
There's
friends
so
who
many
are part of, like
things.
yeah, no, I have friends who are part of, like, ticket things, and, like, I have a friend who was, like, helping, like, get OLGs picked, like, all over.
It's so wild, like, sometimes I think back and I'm like, "What was I doing on Twitter at, like, 10 years old?" First of all.
Literally.
But I feel like that was, like, the first time I was exposed to, like, a community and, like, it was just so weird to me, and then, like, talking to people from all over, like, the world when, like, your parents are like, "Don't do that." But having so much experience on Stan Twitter, why do you think so many people from there go into the music industry?
I think it's, like, we've taught ourselves. I saw a TikTok the other day about, like, how, like, the One Direction to, like, industry professional pipeline, and I feel like recently it's become more of a thing, realizing, like, how many people who now work in the industry started out as fans, and not even just, like, our generation. I feel like even people who were before us. I have a
Mhm.
boss who was, like, a Backstreet Boys super fan, and she was like, "Yeah, like, we didn't have social media. We were just, like, on the website, on the fan forums." So I think it's always kind of been there, but I think because we're more exposed,
Yeah.
and we have these like digital footprints, and we also have like the numbers behind it, whether you are on a fan account where you're making
Yeah.
edits, you had a YouTube channel. I think that it's just more like known now.
Mhm. And did you go to school for, like, any of this, or you just taught yourself everything?
I went to school for marketing,
Okay.
specifically advertising, and I guess I kind of work in advertising a little bit, but not
Mhm.
specifically like social media digital.
Yeah. And going off experience, how would you say that your stand time experience? I mean, we kinda still are in that space, but, like, not probably as much, but how would you kinda say your experience growing up in that has impacted and helped you grow your career?
When I, interviewed for my current role with MTV, I didn't even realize, like, how big of a deal it was to, like, have a fan account and have that
Mhm.
experience under my belt. Like, I've always heard it, but when I interviewed with my directors, one of them specifically treated me being on Justin Crew like it was a full-time job. Like, he kept redirecting the questions to that and, like,
Mhm.
asking more about that. Even on my cover letter, I wrote how, like, live tweeting about the VMAs from Justin Crew, like,
Yeah.
prepared me for the role I'm in now, and they agreed. They were like, "No, like, you get it, like, you understand fans." Like, brands want people who understand their audience, and, like, who better understands an audience than fans themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I always say that, like, because I kinda work with artists and stuff a bit, and, like, whenever they ask me, like, "Oh, like, why do you think you're, like, would be good to help me out?" I always bring that up because now you're, like, on both sides, like, I'm still a freaking fangirl, like, I can't, like, pretend I'm not and, like, whatever, but I feel like having both perspectives is, like, the best thing because you know what the fans wanna see, but you also know the other side of it.
Exactly.
Thinking about that you work for MTV, what does your current role look like?
So I'm a social coordinator. So it depends on the show. Like
Mhm.
last year for movie and TV awards, we only have like two platforms, which are Twitter and Facebook, or X and Facebook. And so we had four coordinators last year, so two of them were on there, and I was more like overseeing. So my role is almost in the sense of like knowing what talent to post, not to post, knowing like what couples are still together, who aren't and are still friends, things like that. So that's always important, and just like keeping up with like what trends are going on, what trends we can jump on, what makes sense for our brand, and making sure everything looks good, what fan bases to engage with, things like that. And then for VMAs, I'm a bit more hands-on, and even for CMT Awards, I'm a bit more hands-on, running a platform, crafting like the Getty carousels we do, like previewing the voting posts that go up, writing the copy night of show. And then I work remote right now and still do. So like I'm at home doing that, but then like the week of show, I travel out to whatever city it is, LA, New York,
Mhm.
and I'm on the ground capturing content behind the scenes at rehearsals, and then like night of show, we're all in like a war room, watching the show from a TV inside the venue and like getting the content up in real time
Mhm.
for fans to see.
Yeah, and going from someone that used to update on, like, a fan account, how has it been to, like, be like, "Wow, look, okay," like, going from that to, like, actually being at the VMAs, like, live updating, what has an, like, experience been like?
It's so crazy because it's like, wow, this is stuff I used to do from my house, but, like, obviously on, like, a bigger scale, and just remembering I had a conversation with one of my team members the other day. I don't know if you saw a person who was on the Recording Academy's, X account who, like, accidentally tweeted, like, the wrong winner,
Yes.
and I was like, "That's something I do for, like, VMAs." I'm the one who's, like, updating the thread in real time of, like, who
Mhm.
the winners are, and I don't even know the winners. I find out when everyone else finds out, so I'm like having to be very tuned in on the screen and like making sure I'm getting the right information, everything's spelled out right, the right people are being tagged. And so like being on the other side and like being on the like brand account, and like, okay, I cannot afford to mess up. This is like me as a fan, like this is me speaking as the VMAs. Like I have to be unbiased. I have to make sure everything is like correct, but
Yeah.
still fun at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's so stressful because even me, sometimes, like, I post things and I don't even notice there's a typo until, like, 2 days later, and then, like, I get so annoyed by it. But, like, do you, like, literally type everything out that second, or do you have, like, something that at least, like, you can copy paste and fill in things? Like, how does that work?
So, funny enough, for VMAs, sometimes like the performances, like expert, so, like on Twitter, for example, like they'll have like an ad play in front of it, and sometimes like because things are hectic, we are the ones posting them. They'll have like another team do
Okay.
it, but we write the copy, so it sounds like the brand voice.
Mhm.
And so, for my first VMAs in 2021. I was in my hotel room the night before the show, had not seen any rehearsals, had no idea. I just knew the artist and what songs they were performing, and I was blind writing copy and like assuming what the performances were going to include. So
Yeah.
like I remember like Normani was one, and I was like, Normani gave us choreo, she gave us vocals, she gave us like production. I had no idea what her performance was going to look like, and then I was like, if it's not right, like feel free to try to tweak it. If not, like who cares?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like it sometimes like some of them are written, like some are written blindly. If I am posting them, I'll try to like tweak them in real time if they make sense, and if not, like whoever's posting it for me, they just put it up.
Yeah. And how do you go about navigating, like, being a fan, but also, like, being in a professional setting? Like, let's say, like, you meet someone that, like, you really like. How do you, like, just navigate all that?
I think like I'm trying to think if I've ever been in a situation where I've met someone I was like a super fan of at work. Typically, I guess I don't know if they do it intentionally. I
Mhm.
usually work with people who like I know of and like I listen to their music, but I'm like a super fan of. I think the closest one I would say is like this country artist, Parker McCollum. I like jokingly told my team I'd really like enjoyed his album after like getting into it during CMT season. And so they had me work his shoot, and I got to see like Polaroids of him and like go on his tour bus. And it wasn't like me meeting Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
So like it was definitely more like weird when you're like in front of these artists and it's like I've been streaming your songs all month long, and like here you are in front of me
Yeah.
and like you have no idea. Um I've like mentioned when I'm working with people sometimes, I'm like, oh, I really like this song, I really like this album, just to like also build rapport with them and let them know like
Yeah.
I'm not just someone like doing the digital social stuff for fun. Like I genuinely know who you are, I enjoy music, get them comfortable with you. But for the most part, I think also it's just like being prepared ahead of time and like knowing I'm gonna work with this person, I'm gonna
Yeah.
see them, and like not being like thrown into it without any
Mhm.
preparation.
Yeah, and I feel like over time, because you have met like a lot of different people, I feel like you kind of just get used to it. And like, I always tell myself whenever I'm meeting someone, it's like they're low key just a human. Like, they're just like a human, like with more popularity than me. So, talking about like award shows and stuff, you always see like either like fans or like people that are like seat fillers or they just like randomly get tickets and stuff. How does that work?
They usually use, like, 1 Iota, and so they're the ones
Okay.
who are in charge of, like, getting, the people selected for performances and whatnot. I know for, like, VMAs in the past, they've had, like they'll have fans come out for 1 Iota pre-tape performances, and then, like, the fans who are, like, coming out of their way to come to the pre-tape performances will be given tickets to go to the actual VMAs as well. But I'm not really sure how they go about selecting and, like, picking who actually gets to go and who doesn't, like, how they vet people.
I have no idea. Never tried, but maybe one day. So, what would you say is your favorite part about your job and career path as a whole?
I think, like, the full circle moments. So, my first VMAs was, like, Justin Bieber's, like, first time back in, like, 6 years, and, like,
Mhm.
when my team found out he was gonna be a part of the show, they're like, "This is what you've been preparing for, like, this is all you," and, like, his announcement happened to fall on my birthday, and, like, typically they give off that day, like, for your birthday, and I was like, "I am not taking off, like, I will be working, I need to be a part of this, like,
Yeah.
announcement, I have to be the person that says it, like, it just has to happen." So I think those little like full circle moments, even though it's like I'm not directly working with Justin, it's like just having a part in it is so cool. And I think also just the parts where I'm like on site getting to capture content at
Yeah.
rehearsals and like because it's like something I did on the side anyway with my blog. So like getting to do it for MTV and like CMT is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And on the flip side, what would you say has been like the biggest lesson you've learned?
Um, I think double checking your work, like we talked about, like making
Mhm.
mistakes, whether it's spellings and like just being careful and realizing that like we don't always have to be the first ones to post about it. I think going in at first is like, okay, we have to be the first ones to make this
Yeah.
announcement. Like if something where we have to rush it out, it's like no, like people are gonna see it, but they're also still gonna wait for the official account to post it. Like it's gonna be fine. Take your time. Better to be right than like put something out mistakenly, and it'd be a bigger deal.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's listening to this right now and they're really passionate about music, the music industry and all that, what advice would you give to them to try and get a career like yours?
I think just put yourself out there. I started by doing like little contract gigs with
Mhm.
this company that used to be called CID, and now it's on location. And I used to work shows like, example, Maren Morris might be in New Orleans for a day for a show, and I would go and be like the VIP or production assistant,
Mhm.
and that would give me the opportunity to get experience under my belt, but then also to network. I would network with the people who were like actively on the tour. How did they get on tour? What do they do? What other tours have they worked at? Are they willing to connect and like give me, 30 minutes of their time for like a Zoom call or a phone call? And I think people who want to go into like the photography aspect, like just bringing a phone or like a point and shoot camera to shows and just building up like their portfolio and like getting their own experience under their belt.
Yeah. And talking about concerts, you said that you have a concert blog called NOLA Concerts. When did you start this and why did you want to start a concert blog?
So it started accidentally. So back in 2018, I had an Instagram account called Nola Concerts, and it was almost just like a Finsta of sorts for me to
Mhm.
just put like videos and pictures from shows I went to instead of putting it on my personal page. And then like local venues and like Live Nation New Orleans saw it and they reached out and wanted to partner for a giveaway a little music festival in New Orleans, Louisiana Fest. And then they were like, "Oh, like we can also get you a photo pass." And I didn't know like anything about the photo pit. I didn't know anything about concert photography really. And then when I think they went back on my Instagram account, they were like, "All these are iPhone videos, pictures," and they're like, "You can't have an iPhone in the pit." And I was like, "I'll get a camera." And
Mhm.
so I bought a point and shoot. I went in the pit. I really enjoyed it, and I, on a whim, like a week later, was like, "Taylor Swift's coming next month. Like, maybe I should reach out to her team." I don't know why I did it, but I reached out to her team and they're like, "You need a website. It can't just be up like a Instagram account. I was like, bet. And took 48 hours to respond to them, maybe less than that. Made a website, put some blog posts I just wrote up of like shows I had just went into the past couple months, sent it to her team, and I don't know why, but Tree Payne gave me the opportunity to photograph and review Taylor Swift's Reputation tour in 2018. And from there, I was like, like, wow, I can do this. And
Yeah.
so I just started like making it an actual website, taking the time
Mhm.
out and like ripping it, and then applying for more shows. And from there, it was like Sharon and Pink, Machine Gun
Yeah.
Kelly, and so many other artists. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say has been the most memorable moment or experience that you've had so far with your blog?
Um, probably probably Taylor's Eras tour
Mhm.
or Pink's tour in 2019. I think she was like the first artist to actually like repost and reshare my blog post and my pictures. So I thought that was really cool. And Pink's like a really big artist. And then
Yeah.
getting to cover Eras tour was really cool because it was one of my first shows in a different city. I got to cover that one in Houston.
Yeah. And how do you go about like editing and creating your content?
So typically, like if I know I'm gonna cover a show, for example, Taylor's was like a month in advance or like a week in advance. Um, most of the shows are the same, so I'll like go
Yeah.
online, I'll go on TikTok. I'd watch some lives beforehand of her show, so I'll like kind of get an idea of what I'm gonna write about and like what to expect and like know like what things might be different at the city I'm seeing the show in. And then kind of preparing myself uh, like allotted time. Like, okay, I have to edit pictures for like this amount of time. What songs do I want to capture to share on my social platforms? And like, what songs? How long are they going to be? So I try to prepare. Sometimes, there's back to back shows. It's not as easy, but
Mhm.
kind of give. I've learned to just like give myself grace because it's really just me on the account.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how do you get like the opportunities to go to like shows for free? Like you said that you reached out to some people, but do people ever reach out to you? Like how does that go?
Yeah, in the last 2 years, I've started having, like, PR teams reach out to me, like,
Mhm.
Victoria Monet was someone who was on my radar that I wanted to cover. I could not find her team's information, and then, like, lo and behold, a couple weeks before the show, someone from her PR team, like, cold emailed me and said they wanted me
Mhm.
to cover and, like, photograph. Sometimes teams will reach out to you. You never know seeing your content, so
Yeah. And currently, do you have like what's your concert lineup look like for 2024 so far?
Right now, so I'm actually in Oklahoma seeing the Jonas Brothers, but for fun, not
Okay.
for like work. Yeah. And then I think I have potentially Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday tour. Parker McCollum is coming to New Orleans. They have like a jazz fest in New Orleans, which isn't just like jazz music. It's like Earth, Wind and Fire, Chris
Mhm.
Stapleton, like vast amount of artists. So Jazz Fest, trying to think who else. Olivia Rodrigo, that's soon. It's in like a month. It'll
Yeah.
be my first time seeing her, so I'm very
Me
excited.
too.
She's definitely probably like top of my list of who I'm most excited to see this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are the main ones. And then I don't have tickets yet, but hopefully Taylor Swift in October in New Orleans. So
Yeah. Yeah, Taylor Swift, like I'm not personally a fan, but her like I watch like all her the TikToks of her shows and stuff, and I'm like, it's so cool because like someone who's not really a fan of her music, like now I know all her songs because of TikTok. But I was like, I don't know how she's on stage for that long and like not out of breath or anything because Lord knows if I that was me after 10 minutes, I'd be like done.
no, and it's like a stadium size stage,
Yeah.
and she's moving around, she's dancing. There's like no breaks at
No,
all.
literally. Good
It's
for her.
insane.
So what are some of your goals or aspirations that you have for your concert blog? Like, how do you see it growing moving forward?
I think I have some like general social media goals of like hitting follower counts this
Mhm.
year. I think right now I'm at like 5K on Instagram. I think then like next year or two I want to hit like 10K.
Yeah.
Um, getting being more consistent on TikTok. I feel like there's always so many platform changes, but like just
Yeah.
being more consistent and just like sticking to it. And even branching out to YouTube, I feel like I used to be on YouTube a lot when I was younger, and that's just something I've kind of strayed from because it's something I don't really touch on personally at work.
Hmm.
But I'm like, this is something I should jump back into, especially with shorts and seeing how like well people do on there. Um, so yeah, just I think just more monetizing
Yeah.
and having more of a strategy going forward.
Yeah. And how do you balance everything? Because of course you have your full-time job, then you have your concerts on the side, and then you have to have like a social life and then time for yourself to do like nothing. How do you balance everything?
That was one of my goals within the last year is kind of just like planning things out and just taking a step back and realizing like for example, like social media content, I used to feel like if I go to a show that night, like I have to put up all the content like in that moment.
Mhm.
But in reality, I don't. Like it can wait a day or
Yeah.
two or a week. You never know like when the content needs to go up. So not stressing myself out about that
Yeah.
anymore. And just planning ahead as much as possible. I feel like in the past I wasn't, but like I've started to like plan out like plans for my
Mhm.
vlog.
Yeah. Love that. So the last part of my podcast, I asked people on Instagram to ask you questions, and I picked two of my favorite ones. So the first one is, what is the best concert you've ever experienced?
Yeah, not to say Bruno Mars. He just like is a consistently great performer, and I'm a really big fan of him.
Mhm.
I would say him.
Yeah, I've never seen him, but I've heard so many people like whenever people ask them that question, if they've seen Bruno Mars, like that's always the answer.
I didn't realize how like little he's like performed until I like posted about seeing him last year, and people were just like, "This is a rare
Mhm.
occurrence." Okay, well,
Yeah, on my other podcast, I was talking to my friend and I was like, "Where did he go?" Like he like vanished. He disappeared.
he randomly does like Vegas residencies, but the thing is, they don't let phones in. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so, like, at first when he did his Vegas residency, they let phones in. I It is a small venue, so I guess, like, your phone's in his face, and he's a short man, so your
Yeah.
phone is in his face. It's, like, in his face. So they started making a no phone policy for his shows and the Silk shows. So it's like the shows happen, but no one ever knows because there's
Yeah,
no
because I
video
feel like he just
from it.
like fell off the face of the earth. Obviously not, but like I don't hear about him as much anymore and he hasn't released anything I don't think in a minute.
No, he hasn't. Hopefully this year or next year, he'll make his
Yeah.
big return.
Yes. And then the last question is, who is someone you've never seen live yet that you want to? I know you said Olivia, but since you are seeing her, maybe someone who like doesn't have a tour planned yet that you haven't seen.
Maybe I recently said Lady Gaga, and,
Mhm.
like, I feel like we'll never get Rihanna back on tour, but, like, I just
Ugh.
wanna see Rihanna just to say I've seen Rihanna, but, yeah, that's a
Mhm.
far-fetched dream, it
But
seems.
yeah, I remember like everyone was like, "Oh my god, like Rihanna's coming back. She's making an album. She's gonna go on tour," and then she's having a baby. So
She's having a baby.
yeah, so that's not happening. But there's like a little part of me that like believes she'll go on tour again. But like I don't know. I really want to see her
Same.
too. But the thing is, like, and I don't know if like New Orleans has like do they have stadiums?
Yeah, we have a stadium.
Okay, so we do too in Montreal, but our person doesn't want us to, like, use it for concerts, so, like, no one comes here for stadium tours, which is really annoying.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, "You would make so much money." That's why Taylor Swift is not coming here because they don't wanna, like, give her the stadium, but I'm like, "Taylor Swift would make you like, the economy here so much money."
no, the economy would make so much money, like,
Yeah,
that's a bad move on their part.
yeah. I don't know, maybe one day, but that's all I had for you today, so thank you so much again for coming on. Do you wanna shout out any of your socials, where people can follow you, see your concert stuff?
Yeah, so NOLA Concerts, it's the same on Instagram and TikTok, and then my personal is just my first and last name, Kristal Terrell, on all social platforms as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to go follow Kristal on all her socials. Go show her some love and support. If you want to follow me, please don't be shy. You can follow me either at Behind the Girl Boss or at It's Amanda Wan. You can also check out my YouTube channel, It's Amanda Wan. I post every single week on there. And yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.